Hopefully, you'll know what Health and Homes for Wellbeing is. It's our fuel poverty advice service. So giving free energy advice to vulnerable and low income households is our aim. Just a few key things from me. Last year was another big year of growth. Hopefully you'll remember the previous year we grew lots despite COVID. So this last year saw us grow again. And the most significant thing from my perspective is the size of the team. It's grown enormously since a year ago. And the other major thing that's happened is we've had lots of new funding, as you can see from the figures. It's a massive jump in the amount of funding we've received to deliver this service. It was a really challenging year, though, because probably you'll all remember there was something called the energy crisis kicked off last spring, and it threw us a bit of a curveball because some of the things that we would normally be doing as part of our advice service we couldn't do anymore. One of the main things we were doing was switching tariffs to people and helping them save money. And suddenly everybody was on the same price. So we couldn't do any more of our core work. So we had to think about how we were going to start to help people a bit differently. There were also some changes around warm home discount, which meant we couldn't help people with that anymore because it's now an automatic discount. And we had a rubbish and delayed grant funding scheme called Eco4, which is normally how we help people get improvements on their home. So there was all this really negative stuff going on around us, and we were trying to deliver a really decent service to people that needed the help. And we also have a Devon grant funding scheme, which we were working on last year, called Sustainable Warmth, which I'll show you some figures on later when I talk about retrofit. And the other major thing we had last year as well was that LEAP, which is one of our major income streams, which is how we fund our home visits, closed for 3 whole months because they had to reconfigure their scheme and get Ofgem approval. So whereas previous years we just did less in the summer, last year we didn't do any home visits for 3 whole months. So it really impacted us on some of the figures. So that's why the number of leaps is down on the year, and also the household savings and benefits is down because of all of those factors that have a play in what we were actually doing to help people. But the opposite happened in terms of activity, because when the energy crisis started, we saw a 300% increase in phone calls overnight, basically. So that gave us yet more to worry about. But thankfully that quieted down when the government decided they were going to pay everybody's energy bills over the winter. So we're really pleased about that. But what we did do over the year was focus a lot more on energy behaviour, which I'm sure some of you were really pleased to hear. We were focusing on educating people about their energy use in their home, and we've been starting to see some really good results from that. People actually started listening to what we were saying, again, mostly down to the price of energy last year. And most of that work was done by telephone and also at drop-in clinics and events. So you'll see on the slide that the number of events we did went up massively last year. So there were 2 factors for that. One was that we just had a lot more funding, so we could get out in the community more. But the other factor was there were a lot of warm spaces happening last winter, which I'm sure you came across. And we were invited to take part in a lot of those. So we sent advisors along to talk to people in those warm spaces. So that was really great for us. Notably last year, also, we strengthened relations with local authorities who are now starting to fund us to deliver free advice in their districts. And also we were approached by British Gas to bid for funding with them for an Exeter-based project, which we were successful with. And we were also successful in a Mid-Devon joint bid with CHAT, which is a housing charity in Tiverton. Both of these projects are significant funding, which we've secured for 2 years, and enable us to deliver all-round face-to-face energy advice to the fuel poor in those 2 areas. We've also recently been successful with significant funding in Torbay, but I'll tell you all about that next year. In November, we celebrated our 5-year anniversary of giving this free energy advice. And I'm glad to see in the audience as one of the original energy advisors. Hi, Mark. So over the 5 years, we've helped 5,000 households to save money on their energy bills. We did 2,400 home visits, and we estimate that we saved people £2.67 million on their energy bills and other cost savings or grants and new money. And that's equivalent to 1,000 tonnes of carbon reductions. So they were massive numbers for our 5-year anniversary. And I'm really hopeful that as we go forward, we'll be increasing on that every year. We also won an award in January for our fuel poverty work in the Community Energy England Awards in London. So that's 4 awards in 4 years for my Healthy Homes team. So they're doing a really good job. And The other notable thing that we really progressed in this last year was the Energy Champion project. That's volunteer community energy champions. And Sarah, who's our community champion manager, is going to now talk about that.
Hello, good evening. My name's Sarah Reeves, and I've got the lovely title of manager of the Community Champions programme. And we were very lucky in that we got a small grant from the lottery, Awards for All, to help us develop the programme. And so that programme, obviously, you have to formalise everything. You have to have the handbook and the volunteer agreement. And Prina, you helped us with that. Was it Emma? Thank you, Emma, for going through all those documents for us. You can see that we started off in 2021-22 with just 6 champions, which Tara kicked off the programme. And then we're really pleased that last year we trained over 21 people who are champions across our whole patch. And then this year we've trained another further 12 already. So we probably have about a network of 40 plus champions come the end of the programme, the funded programme, which is in October, when we will be reviewing the programme going forward. You can see that the percentage increase in there, that we've got funding from the lottery, but also when we put funding bids in, we sort of include a small amount from other funding bids to help the programme going forward. So who are these champions, and where are they, and what do they do? Well, initially, we thought it would be friends and family, just residents who wanted to really get to know everything about household energy. And but in fact, it's worked out to be a mix of local residents who've taken interest and want to help people, but also a lot of the sustainable groups who are doing it as part of their roles. We've got Sustainable Bradnage, Sustainable Teambridge, Sustainable Tiverton, yes, and there's quite a few more as well. So that's great, because it's being embedded into the work that people are already doing in their local communities through their repair cafes and projects, and they will, when they have their advice stalls at events and fairs, they will have all the eco literature and they'll be able to talk to people about that. And some of our advisors will go and help out as well. So we're sort of mentoring, supporting energy champions in their role. But we've also got a number of energy champions who are doing it as part of their paid role. So they're social prescribers, or they work at the local surgery, or they're part of the Exeter Community Trust wellbeing team. We've got about 5 there. So, it's a real combination of champions in different roles. So going forward then, we'd like to have some more champions in Exeter, a home of eco. So if you know of anybody, yourselves, people who love to talk about energy or just want to help their friends and families, and let us know, and we will be running some training programs again in September, and also across East Devon as well, because champions come and go. I think that's all I've got to say. There you go. Thank you for your time.
The health and homes.
Yes, I've got a question.
Oh yeah, any questions on health and homes? I'd just like to highlight, so of course Tara and her team have brought in a lot of funding, but the health and home stuff wouldn't have happened without Exeter Community Energy. So your investments many years ago have really helped that to happen. But Tara and her team, and there are some here, you've obviously met Sarah, they are doing exceptionally hard work. We've all sort of struggled with the energy crisis, but the people they're meeting, the kind of people who can't afford to have the heating on in the winter through that, that they've got rooms that they can't use. And they're having to meet those people day after day, dealing with mental health challenges, vulnerabilities, and all those kind of things. And they're doing that whilst they're growing. They're doing more and more of this work. They're bringing in, they're expanding. We're going to talk about retrofit in a minute. It's a really, really important piece of our work. And really, it's a main piece of our work at the moment. And so I would just like, I'm not going to embarrass them by getting to stand up. I know you've met good, but I would appreciate it if we could just give them a round of applause. We really do.
I'm seeing to take over Saxon, so
yes. Is it
I think if
Richard?
Saxon, if you want to unmute yourself, then you can.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, but a little bit louder if you can, Saxon, otherwise I'll repeat the question. Don't worry, carry on.
I'm a director of a set of 28 apartments for older people, which is sheltered accommodation. And we now own the freehold. So we as residents decide on the plan. We're very interested in whether our buildings we could have solar panels. We approached you for advice, but we didn't hear anything back. Do you give that sort of advice to help apartments like ourselves see whether we could in fact invest in solar energy?
Yes, so Saxon's asking a question around that Saxon is part of a freehold on a block of flats, and whether we can do PV on that. So blocks of flats are a complete nightmare when it comes to doing solar panels on them. We had hoped that there'd been a technological or service development. Francis, where are you? What was the name of the company? Illume. Illume said that they'd come up with a way of being able to do this, because you can imagine every single person's got a meter, and so you'd have to try and get solar panels, and then you'd have to connect it to every single meter, and then you'd have to have some way that you can distribute it fairer. So it's a technological nightmare under current rate, and then you've got all of the regulations, because as soon as you're basically starting to become a licensed supplier, an energy supplier. And that's a complete nightmare. So yes, we spoke to Illume. Unfortunately, their models seemed very expensive, and we couldn't really see how it could work. But it is a strong area of interest, because there are loads of blocks of flats all across the country. So I think, Francis, we're still sort of got it on our radar, haven't we? So Saxon, I think if you can bear with us, but unfortunately at the moment we just don't have a sort of proper offer for that area, but we are trying to find it as soon as we possibly can. So, right.
Look forward to hearing from you.
Great,
Just
thank you.
say we would be looking at our collective energy, because obviously it's just individual. It's the premises. And it is old property. It's not a new block of flats.
Yeah.
Anyway, we look forward, but we won't get any advice from you now.
Not right now, no, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Saxon. Francis, you're okay? No? Oh, sorry, come on.
I'm fine.
I know. Francis is one of our directors. He's straight back from holiday, so I'm surprised he's even, but he is sitting down. So there we go.
It just struck me listening to that exchange for a second, whether have you visited this block of flats? Have we visited this block?
Exeter Community Energy, no. And it could be, Saxon, that Tara's Healthy Homes projects might be able to help you there. So it'd be worth. Tara's nodding, so she'll be in touch to see whether they can provide any support.
But that's what I was thinking, that there may be other ways in which we can help people.
Look forward to that.
Great, thank you, Saxon. Thank you very much. Great, any other questions at this point? No? Okay, brilliant. So Tara, you're back up again on to retrofit. The least sexy name in the presentation.
So I'm for my sins, I'm also acting project manager for the retrofit services until we are developed enough to be able to afford somebody to look after this area for us in its entirety. So there's two main aspects to our retrofit services, and I'll go through some of the stuff that's on the slide. But so first, we're delivering support on Devon's grant funded projects. So last year it was sustainable warmth. So that was grant funded projects for both on and off gas properties for low income households. And we were supplying retrofit services as part of that project. So that was finding the client and holding them through the process, doing the retrofit assessments and providing retrofit coordinators. And retrofit coordinators are the people that manage the whole project through to make sure that the homeowners get exactly what they expected they were going to get in terms of their grant funded works and helps sort out any problems. So Sustainable Warmth actually comes to an end in the next month or two. So we've been supplying 4 retrofit assessors and coordinators to deliver those services. And then taking over from that, we've got the new Hub 2 grants, home upgrade grants, which has literally just started, and that runs for 2 years. And so again, we're providing those retrofit services. So on the slide, over in the blue box is the Sustainable Warmth numbers that we registered 157 properties through Sustainable Warmth, and actually only quite a small number are progressing because of lots of different reasons with that project itself. Lots of issues around getting the measures supplied by local contractors, lots of stop-start from government in terms of the funding, and us getting extensions to the project. It's just been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. But the good news is that we are helping. I think it's about 40 properties that are actually getting their measures as we speak. Quite a lot have been installed over the last few weeks. And there are 78 properties moving over to the Home Upgrade Grants 2, HUG 2, which HUG 2 is all about off-gas properties for the next 2 years. And from Sustainable Warmth, our total income from those services is about £75,000. So it's not to be sniffed at, it's quite significant income. Going forward for the HUG 2, I'm anticipating we'll probably generate £300,000 income from our services on that side. So this is big stuff, it's big numbers, and it's going to help hopefully to make us more sustainable in the future in terms of supplying energy advice services. The second part to our retrofit services is the able to pay service. And we talked about this last year at the AGM, and I'm really sad to say it hasn't got off to a flying start. We've been hit by numerous delays, most of which were outside our control. There were general project framework delays, software delays from the organisation helping to set it up in Devon. We've had recent problems with getting the insurance cover. And then only last week, yet another issue around licensing of software, which I'm pleased to say it looks like all of those have now been resolved. And we're hoping to now move forward with that in the next few weeks. And on top of that, I have managed to recruit somebody to do 1 day a week project management to alleviate some of the pressure around this, so we can get things moving quickly. So on the Able to Pay project, we have actually got 216 people that want to actually have retrofit advice from us, which is really, really great stuff. So we're hoping to be starting to deliver 4 per week assessments on that side of things from September. So we've got a growing team of retrofit assessors and coordinators. I think I counted earlier, there's 8 now on the team, and I'm speaking to another new person next week with a view to maybe having an extra assessor to work on the projects. So it's still all very much early days, but I think it's got masses of scope for eco. Additionally, looking ahead, we're part of a funded project in Devon and Cornwall, which is significant money. I can't tell you much about it because it's still embargoed, but it's going to enable us to have lots of training on the team and test out lots of different advice service levels, and basically just push retrofit forward for us. And we are also looking at a project that's been recently handed over to us from Exeter City Futures. I don't know if any of you know, but Exeter City Futures is now folded, it's stopped. And there was a project we were working with them in loose terms around an Exeter Street project, which is trying to retrofit a whole street of homes in Exeter by using a mixture of all the services we've got available. So our fuel poverty support and our grant funded support and our retrofit team. And that's been handed over to me last week for me to look at again. And I think with this new grant funds that I can't tell you anything about, I think it actually might give us the impetus to get an Exeter Street project underway. It might give us just enough seed capital to get something started. So that's perhaps another exciting project I can tell you about next year.
Thank you, Tara. Any questions for Tara?
So there's 2 schemes you mentioned, so one was Sustainable Walk, the other one was HUG 2?
Yeah.
There's HUG 1 on there as well. So
HUG 1 is part of Sustainable Warmth.
So it's Sustainable Walk included on-grid gas.
Yeah, try not to scratch too much of that, because it's an incredibly complicated government scheme that was set up. But yeah, so essentially it's government money. So yeah.
So just to be clear, Sustainable Walk, HUG 1.
Sustainable Warmth was LAD 3.
And HUG 1.
So if you scratch it now, I don't.
No, yeah, we're delivering it now, and that funding is ended, and the funding was just there. Yeah, but it's essentially all the same stuff, it just has different eligibility criteria.
Yeah, luckily the government is providing some money towards this area, but at the moment it's all off gas, not the on gas. You're in fuel poverty and you're on gas. There's a bit, but it's not as good.
What's lead?
Yeah, that's the funding, I can't say that.
Yeah, and that's government funding again, but for projects, not for sort of capital works and things like that.
Yeah, all I can say is Devon and Cornwall did a consulting bid and we were successful, but I can't tell you any more about it.
Yeah. And I think that's good to highlight. So Exeter Community Energy, well, we've got Phil out here from Team Community Energy, I can't remember yet. But there's obviously community energy organisations in Devon, there are community energy organisations across the country, and we're really working quite strongly in partnership. And Tara and her team are quite exemplarish, I think that's a made up word, are exemplars in the area and really seen as sort of beacons, and people are coming to us, finding out about what we're doing. So I'd be very proud of that and that's why they win awards as well.
Actually, on that note, can I just say, as another flag for Sarah's project is actually because we're one of the few organisations across the country that's doing this energy champion type thing. We were actually asked to collaborate on a national project, and we've been part of a new national framework on energy champion training. And we're hoping to get it up to an accredited level so that anyone doing our training will now get a certificate and some kind of accreditation to say they've done training.
Great.
So that's all work in progress at the moment. But that again, that's just the fact that we're on the map. You can see us as an exemplar energy advice service.
Okay. Thank you, Tara. Any questions? Andy, anything online? No. Great. Okay. We will then move on to one of our new projects. Well, yes. Anyway. Andy, you can explain all.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I think exemplary is actually a real word. You'll
Oh,
find.
is it?
Yeah, so solar PV4, some of you may know, we've been working on trying to get some new solar sites up and running for ever since we did the last set of solar sites, actually. And since last summer, we've been kind of scoping out different sites. Some have dropped in, some have come in, some have dropped back out again, and that's kind of an ongoing process. But in November, we did have a kind of agreement in writing to proceed with Exeter College. That's not actually kind of public knowledge, but we have been told it's okay to kind of discuss it at this meeting. And so, yeah, we are proceeding with those sites, and as a result of having the agreement in writing, we were able to raise nearly £15,000 to kind of work on moving towards a new share offering to raise the money for these sites. And so that money is there and in place, and we've recruited a new project manager, Rachel, who's working very hard on getting the sites up and running. The target, so we've done various basics like get the legal side in motion to get leases agreed with the college and get power purchase agreements in place, which is what we need for them to be able to pay us the money that we will get from them. And there has, in the last couple of months, I suppose, been a new partner that's fairly big, a local organisation that looks quite promising that we were working with. That's also come in. We had hoped to get like the full agreement to proceed with the college sites in June at one of their kind of main meetings. So we've had an initial agreement in writing from them, but that's subject to a further level of agreement from a more senior board. We hoped that would happen in June, but I think that our contact at the college was aware quite late of the fact that we wanted to get that approved there and then. So we're now looking at September probably is the next opportunity. We're going to have to get that fully approved, and so hopefully we'll get that and then be able to proceed to a share offer probably towards the end of the year. I think that Giles, who you'll meet in a moment, has pointed out that we'll have a bit of a clash with Christmas in terms of trying to raise funds, so that might well then slip into next year if that's the case. But yeah, there are three sites that we're looking at the college. Each of them has some very individual little problems that we're trying to overcome, and that may also contribute to delays. But it is happening. We've got some funding, and you know, hopefully that will go ahead. Perhaps later this year, probably early next year. But yeah, that's where we're at. Thank you for your attention. Unless there are any questions. Oh, we've got a couple. So each of the sites is about 75 kilowatts. So it's actually quite significant. We're expecting to proceed with maybe a couple of sites. I think our current generation capacity is about 400. Is that right, David Bacon? Yeah. So, you know, if we get two sites, that would be 150. So that's about a third of our current generation capacity. So, yeah. So, but yeah, anything could happen really at this stage. Hilary?
I wondered if the hospital was interested in solar panels.
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny that. Okay.
So what's the, obviously the PV 1 to 3 was funded to fit, what's the business model for this?
The fact that there's an energy crisis and people are paying very high rates for their electricity. And so, you know, I think some of the sites we have, we're currently selling their electricity at like 5p a unit, which, you know, these days is, you know, they're getting an extremely good deal. So we're just charging them like the going rate for electricity. That makes it an affordable model. So
you go for a power purchasing agreements with your...
Yeah, so and even export to the grid, you know, used to be very, very low rates, but now it's much more generous and it makes it much more viable for community energy group.
Should you be targeting the same 5% return on investment?
Yeah, so all of our shares have to pay interest at the same rate. So the new shares that we do offer, that we're looking to offer, have to pay interest at the same rate as the old ones. So.
It's interesting because when the Conservative government got rid of the subsidies for it, they said, well, that, you know, the costs are coming down, you'll be fine, you can do it subsidy free. And the whole sector was up and down saying, this is ridiculous, we can't do it. And annoyingly, they have kind of done it. However, it is only working in certain situations. And you have to have a certain array of a certain size. And also, you can't have any issues with high connection costs to the grid and so forth. So it's not perfect, but it does prove that. Well, it does show that the market can adapt, and of course the energy crisis does not help. But any other questions?
Okay.
Thanks everyone. There's some Christmas presents for everybody there, hopefully. Next, our community fund. Prina, you able to?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I took over from Lenka. You might have seen her last year present this slide. So I've kind of taken over community fund, still getting to grips with it a little bit. But on the left there, I put like a little table of what we've given out this year. You can also find more information on our website about how that's been spent exactly. So you can see that we've given it to 5 people, a variety of money, totaling £5,307 last year. And as we've always done last year and this year, thank you, we're going to do £5,000, and that's going to be in the next few months that we're going to kind of put that out into the world. And we'll talk a little bit more about kind of who we're targeting with that, and if we can kind of try and target different people, because we kind of have seen that there's a lot of similar organisations applying each year, which is great, which means that they're finding the funding really useful, and it's all to like community centres, and we have a criteria which means that we want to try and make it so that it's community related, climate related, and socially related as well. And so all of those things are things that we're really trying to make sure that this funding is targeting. But we'll come about it in a bit and try and expand that a little bit more and see if we can make it even more impactful. And so that's the aim with this community fund, is to make sure that we're really trying to be really impactful with it. And as the years go by, we make more surplus, that obviously will increase. But at the moment, we're on about £5,000. Where we're at. That was a very brief overview. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you, Brina. So now this is going to be the testing of our technology. So next on to the annual accounts. Iona, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Great. So some of you.
Hi.
Hello, Iona. You're live to the room. So Iona's our finance director. Unfortunately, couldn't be here today because of the commitments, but she's on that machine. There's some printouts available. We'll be sending them out as well. But Iona, are you able to take us through? So obviously, I've got the annual accounts slide up at the moment.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Alistair. It's my great pleasure to present accounts to you. They are very positive, so it's even a bigger pleasure. I can see that the Exeter Community Energy is doing a very good job, and it's also very efficient in managing finance. So the income for the year is £425,000, which is 70% increase from the previous year. We managed to generate a surplus of £3,470, even if we are non-for-profit organization. Impressively, we have 227,000 cash in bank, and we plan to repay loans maturing in August for £74,500. We also have loans maturing in the year 2025 for 38,100, which we also plan to pay from this cash. And generally, I can see that the finance picture is very positive. We have shares issued so far for £323,000, but the total net worth is £338,000. Out of these £338,000, tangible assets are 324,000. We have current assets, which are liquid assets, of 317, and we have creditors for 205,000. So this is the finance update. Finance is usually a dry part in any entity, but please ask your questions and I will be very happy to answer them. We just received our account certified by Hammett Spire Accountants today, so we are very confident with these figures. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Iona. So in general, things are looking positive. We're making more income. And our services are looking pretty good, or reserves are looking quite good at the moment. Any questions on the accounts before we move to the voting? Go on. Yep. I might have to relay it to Iona, but
yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, Iona. There was a question earlier about interest and loans from someone behind me. Yeah, it is the case that some of us who've been here from the beginning put some money in the beginning, then we made a loan. Now, since then, we've occasionally received amounts in our bank statements, but we don't have any idea what they are. Are they interest? Are they repayment? If they're an interest, what are they for? Is there some way that we could receive statements?
Yeah, remittance advice, I think it is.
Something like that. Because they're not necessarily huge amounts, and we haven't necessarily tried to sort of work out what they are, but it would be quite good if we can actually see some way in which things tie together.
Andy, I'll just repeat the question. So just that we were asking whether we could do some kind of statement for people so they can see where their payments are coming from, whether they're related to interest or shares or interest on loans. But Andy, sorry, go on.
So I mean, as a member, my interest statement is the same, or my interest is the same every year. We pay 5% every year. So I don't know whether you actually compare back to see whether it's the same.
Well, I can believe that it might be 5% if it's an interest payment, but I don't. It's just an amount. But
Yeah.
we don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, and I think David, could you maybe put as an action for David to raise at the next meeting with Iona to see whether we can put a process in that's relatively, doesn't involve a lot of capacity from our side, but does give you some kind of statement. We are looking to try and move our share register over to an online piece of software, which could help with the communication, and you'd be able to access stuff. So it might be through that we can actually get that information to you. Yeah, great. That's a thumbs up. Any other financial questions? No. Great. Okay. Well, we'll move on to the voting then. Where are you on it? There you are. Very much. Are these yes, no's, or are these proposals secondaries, David?
No, we need abstentions.
Yeah. Fine. So first one to vote on, yes, to approve the accounts for year ending 31st March 2023. That should be.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, yes, yeah.
You provided 23.
Yeah.
22.
We always like to vote on things twice. It's always a good thing to do. Yes, 2023. So this is to approve the votes. So can I have hands up for yes to approve? And you can give me a shout out online. Yeah, great. So that's all yes online. And then no's. And then abstentions. Great. Okay, David. Brilliant. And the next one then, so so we don't get our accounts audited. So Iona prepares the accounts, they go to Hampson, whatever they call Spires, who then produce the financial statements, which we then send to Companies House, but we don't get them formally audited. So just to vote on that to not be audited this year, obviously there's a cost related to that, so we don't really want to audit it, we don't have to. But can I have hands up for yes, you're happy for not to be audited? Yeah, we've got those, David. Online.
Yeah, that's everyone.
Great. Any no's? Any abstentions? Done. Okay, David. Perfect. Great. Oh, sorry. Yeah, question.
One point. I think we voted for next year's accounts. We are voting in advance. I think it's just.
Oh, is it for next year? The auditing next. Apologies for that. So that's for not auditing 23-24s. Yeah, but thank you for that. Right. Okay, so appointments then. So every year we have to have people standing down and standing back up again in a metaphorical sense. So this year we've got Andy, Tara, and David who will be standing down and then standing for re-election. Is this the yes, no again? What is it? Yeah. So if I can have hands up for, you're happy for the re-election of Andy, Tara, and David? Hands up. Yeah. All right. Okay, and then any hands up for no's? And then any abstention? Great. And then we've got some new directors. We're very grateful that Iona, who you've seen online, and Giles and Emma have agreed to be directors for us. So, so we're very, very grateful for that. Emma's going to be, Iona's obviously the finance director. Emma's focusing on retrofit and what was it about? We only had a strategy meeting the other day.
Yeah, EPI.
Quality, diversity, inclusion. Yes. And is there anything else?
It was something but like that.
That's right, yeah, and helping them a bit as well. And Giles, you're going to be doing sort of marketing and communications and that sort of stuff and new business and things like that. So it's really great to get their support in those critical areas. So if we can have hands up for yes, you're happy for the election of those. Great, thank you. Any no's? Any abstention? Brilliant. Just to notify you, you don't get to vote on this, but David Bacon's going to take over the reins as chair for the next year for the rest of his life. But anyway, and well done to David. Great. So next one then to talk about the just transition. So Prina, yeah.
So I definitely want this to be more of a discussion. I'm just going to do like an intro and then to kind of get, if you have any thoughts on this, so please do feel free to speak up, ask questions on it. So just to, I guess, go from the beginning, if we're not sure what a just transition is. So we're obviously, as an organisation, our core mission and vision, which I think comes up maybe later in the slides, is about decarbonising energy and supporting decarbonising, like get to supporting climate change, reducing climate change, not increasing it. But also we have a really strong sense of social justice as well, and you can see that through our Health and Homes work and also our community fund, which comes a lot from the solar project. But with at Regen, which is my other job, we've been thinking a lot about how can we really get into the details of how can we make sure that this opportunity for change, going from fossil fuels to renewables, to making sure that we have more energy efficiency, retrofit, how can we make sure that change doesn't impact people negatively, and even making sure that everyone benefits from this. So that means especially the people who have currently been marginalised in our current society. So that obviously means people who have low income, other marginalised communities such as the disabled community, elderly people, etc. There's like quite a few groups of people that have been negatively impacted. And there's quite a few opportunities to do this. And we, like I said, we already do a lot of it. But we also, there are some ways in which we don't. And so at the strategy day this year, we had a kind of discussion around how can we do even more to make sure that we are supporting a just transition. And as a structure, as a governance structure, community energy is very well set up to do this. We're not made for profit. We're not trying to make as much money as possible, and we're trying to provide social value. And so just a couple of things that we were talking about is firstly the inclusivity of share offers. Now, a lot of you have shares here, but you're only able to have shares and access shares if you have enough money to do so, and therefore benefit from that 5% each year. And also coming here and voting at the AGM and having an input into our structure. And so one of the discussion points is around how can we make that more inclusive? Does that mean having really low shares? Obviously, that adds more complexity in terms of there'll be way more people potentially in this room. We might need to have, the more admin time, more admin costs, but it also means that more people are able to get involved on a governance level within Exeter Community Energy. There's also other ways of doing that. Could you have other community energy organisations have volunteers as members? So could that be another option? If someone decides to volunteer, they could also be a member and receive some benefit or some voting rights. And so firstly, I guess, does anyone have any questions or thoughts on that? Because it is, so that's one of the ways in which we are excluding a certain group of people from accessing community energy, ultimately, if they can't access that. Anyone? Yeah, but
So we discussed this point over the years as well, and we decided to make it the share offer much more inclusive. So actually, our aim is to bring it down to £1, which we have, and up to a maximum of £50 outside of the main share. So during the main share offer, and the way we've done that is we've taken some of the shares from the main projects and put them aside for that purpose. So that allows them to register and be involved. A lot of them actually wait the interest books because it's not going to be much, but it's increasing engagement.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And actually, that's one of the other things that we talked about was the engagement. And so one of the thought exercises that we had at the beginning was, if you think about our patch as we see it, how many people would actually know who Exeter Community Energy was? Now, we probably have many more people who know who Healthy Homes are. But in terms of who knows, how are we engaging people? Are we engaging a diverse group of people? Or is it the same sort of people that we're engaging each time? And so that's another massive question. With that, and I think the beauty about community energy is obviously it's one member, one vote, which is not like a kind of normal company. And so everyone here has one vote, no matter how many shares that you put in. So £1 vote, £1 member would have the same rights as 1,000. And so the second one, which I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, was the community benefit fund. We tend to have, with grant funding, you have people who are able to understand how to apply for these grants, who understand how to fill out the forms. Those are the people who tend to apply. And so there's a certain level of kind of knowledge already there. So are we really targeting the people who need it most, the communities who need it most? In that. And so that's another thing that we're kind of thinking about, is saying, can we make the process any easier? Can we use the work that we're already doing by going into these kind of communities through the Healthy Homes program? Can we link that up in some way to make sure that that's more accessible, provide them with more support to do that? So I don't know, again, I'm just going to throw it out to the audience. I don't need to have any thoughts necessarily, but that's something else that we've been thinking about.
Coming back to your shares and making them more available, I'm not sure what the purpose of that is. From the outset, where I've been putting in shares and gig loans, we're a scheme that those who can afford it, put money in to benefit people who couldn't.
Yeah.
So why are shares being made available to those who perhaps can't fund and get the benefit of our organisation? Is there any benefit in spreading the shares amongst?
Yes, that's a discussion that we've been having, and it's kind of it's not a clear answer, I would say. But I guess the core bit is that everyone should be able to access and engage with energy. So it's not just about necessarily like the benefits, but people want to engage and should be able to, regardless of So people can input their thoughts, come to this meeting, I guess, and ask questions like you've just done. Anyone should be able to do that. I know we have non-members who are able to come, but I guess it's more of a meaningful engagement if you have a stake in the organisation.
It's empowering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Tyler.
Think about shaping the future. So, if it's always the same people that come every year and voice their opinion, we're not getting a diverse opinion from the local community. So if we can engage with more people and have more different shareholders, we start to get different policies and different ideas. But that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
This is a negative idea, really, that you have to think of bad actors who might decide that you could take over. £1 a share, one vote. You could come and decide things that were not good for the existing organisation. So I think there's something that has to be examined there.
Yeah.
You've seen that happen with National Trust, doesn't it?
Yes.
Which in some ways has increased their membership in other areas, but yeah,
in today's world, there is the possibility of these things, so there needs to be some checks and balances so that you don't find it has a negative impact.
Just to clarify though, no matter how much a member invests, they only get one vote. So it's not one vote per share, it's just one vote per member.
But it would be easy to gather 1,000 people for £1 a share.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
In order to balance the position.
I'm not sure how easy that would be.
Well, I'm afraid with the means of communication these days, you can have bad actors, which is what I'm saying. Hopefully it would never happen.
I guess what maybe an option for that is, do we limit it the lower shares to the Exeter area, or
sorry, pause you. There's something saying that
Well, personally, I believe so. It happened a few years ago when a selection of supporters didn't want the current manager to have a contract for the future. So they arranged for a whole lot of people to come along the railroad and then a general meeting. So yes, social media which drove that. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, eco changed a lot over the years. So I think when I first became involved, I kind of thought having two halves. I think I accept listening to today's presentations, maybe. I'm going to go with my land. You keep the license for 2 halves, and those 2 halves were people who had savings money could invest, and then people with the Healthy Homes Initiative who, you know, were definitely needing or didn't have the money. And those two, I think, work quite well together. And then, but listening to you speak, I guess I would support the idea of perhaps giving a membership or free share or whatever, how the mechanism you came up with, to everybody who visited a healthy home, because that to me, I think, would bring in people who may be talking about, people definitely need it, probably haven't got the money, and the people we've had contact with and got their details, and, you know, so on and so forth. And that certainly would be an easy way, perhaps a good way of expanding the way.
Just like to pick up on the Exeter aspect as well. We're not from Exeter, we live in the middle of Devon, and yet, I'm often a bit confused as to how much outside of Exeter do you do? Because
Well, we'll have to
very-
escort you out of the room.
Absolutely, especially as I'm asking awkward questions.
Yeah, so
Last year.
Yeah.
The local area.
yes.
What's your local area?
Wow.
Five districts is what we're working with. So it's what the Exeter, East Devon, Mid Devon, Secret and Torquay.
Okay, so we're in Mid Devon.
Yeah.
So I think it is, I mean, I find the name awkward, if you like.
Yeah.
And you suggested that maybe we restricted something to Exeter.
I'm a local area, sorry, I missed the, I'm a local area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I
Yeah.
think it means that it's a bit harder to have awareness of, in the wider community, of those districts that you deal in, with the name that's an Exeter community.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a bit difficult.
I'm not suggesting you change it. Just
No,
bringing it up for your, if you like, the marketing.
Yeah.
And the awareness.
Yeah, so as I said earlier on, you know, Devon's really lucky. We've got a number of community energy groups and we all work really well together. And we generally have our sort of patches. And so, but it's a perfect example. There's some services we offer in full house areas if they're not interested in doing that. And so, you know, we work on that sort of agreed consent basis with the other organisations. But so 361 who operates up in North Devon, they are doing the stuff that Tara's doing. They are doing so that people go on the route. No, they're not. So, but they would like to try and do that sort of stuff. So we'll probably have to call it to a close.
Yeah, but if anyone
Yeah.
has any thoughts, come.
Great. Okay, we really would appreciate feedback, and that's been really useful to get your comments there. Okay. So I know we've all been in here for about an hour now, so we'll try and get through the last bits relatively quickly. So just on, so this is our mission and our vision, which I'm sure you all know off by heart. Just to give you an update on that one. So again, with the finances being as they are and the need from the healthy homes and retrofit stuff, Tara is going to be looking at trying to get some premises. Is that going any further? Or?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
brilliant.
actually going to spend a day there tomorrow.
Oh, great. So that's good. We have a home, we have a virtual home at Regen, which we're very, very thankful for. Works for Regen, but we're actually going to get some kind of base. So that's a really big step for an organisation of our size and age. And also, as I mentioned last year, we were looking to try and see that our surpluses were in such a state that we could look to bring on some contractors that could really just help us to grow, you know, to sort of that core type services and support the directors to be able to do that. Last year, our finances weren't good enough for us to be able to do that, but they now are. And so we will be looking to try and, David and the board will be looking to try and do that and get people or get a person on board to try and, yeah, provide some of that core support to take some of the great ideas that we have. We haven't got the time to try and take them forward, try and do that as well. So again, some really good stuff that's happening and showing that you know, the organisation is becoming even more robust and so forth. But
Saxon's raised her hand.
yeah, Saxon, we got a question?
Yes, what I'm not quite clear is, are you, oh, sorry, I need to, are you actually established as a cooperative, or are you just a social enterprise?
No, we're a cooperative. I forgot what our full title is.
We're a community benefits society.
Community Benefit Society, yeah.
Is our legal status.
Yeah. So we are incorporated, yes.
But you're not in the national cooperative organisations.
No. We were members of Cooperatives UK for a while. Yeah, we're cooperative model. We were members of Cooperatives UK, but we still are members of Cooperatives UK. So yeah, we do support them as well.
Good, thank you.
No problem, Saxon. Great. Grand. So over to Tara, I think. For this thing. Yes.
So a couple of years ago, we decided that we should start awarding some of the team that work for us. So this is the third year we've done this. So there's 2 awards. One is for, excuse the acronyms, HEA, Home Energy Advisor of the Year. So we've got quite a few experienced and dedicated home energy advisors now, some of which have been working with us, if you count me, 6 years. Matthew's been with us, how long now, Matthew? 4 years, I think? 4 or 5, and Charlene and Julie have been with us for 3 years. So yeah, so people, we've got some staying power, which is always a good sign, isn't it? That people are staying with us for quite a number of time. So Matthew actually has recently become operations manager on the team, and moved up to help me manage everything because it was getting so uncontrollably large. So he can't take part in the awards now because he's not a home energy advisor. Anyway, we sat down together last week and decided who we'd like to nominate this year for home energy advisor. And sadly, she's on holiday, so she couldn't be here. But it's Charlene. Charlene, we did give the award to a couple of years ago. And the reason it's Charlene is for 3 whole years, she's just been totally consistent. She does everything on time, and it might seem that maybe following processes and things like that isn't that important, but actually when you've got a team the size we have now, doing everything on time and doing it well and diligently is really important to us. So that's one really good point about Charlene. But the most important point is she's an excellent advisor. She goes above and beyond for every customer, always trying to find solutions, and trying to help people as much as she can, even on her own time, making people curtains. I've known her do in the past for people. So that's not the reason she's got the award though, but the award, she is absolutely an absolute stellar home energy advisor, and she fully deserves to be home energy advisor again this year. So well done for Charlene. So I'll see her next week with a gift. And then we have our Healthy Homes for Wellbeing Special Award. And this year I've decided to give it to someone who has really helped us push forward lots of different areas of the organisation. And she's here, Sarah. Would you like to come up? So Sarah has helped us immensely, not only with getting the Champion project underway and taking all that on and dealing with all the volunteers, but also the reason she joined us was she's been helping with funding. So one of the reasons we've doubled our funding last year is mostly down to this young lady. So thank you so much. We'll start fundraising again. It's a sweetener for you. Thank you, Tara.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Well, I think that's, and we're on to AOB. So any other questions or matters you want to raise? Okay, brilliant. Yeah, sorry, at the back. Oh, so, yeah.
Sorry, I haven't managed to come to a meeting for several years. I've been away for a long time. So this may be a very ignorant question, but I'm sure last time I've seen there was high hopes of doing a measure electric scheme. True as clear. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
So was it proved to be impractical?
Yeah. Fortunately, there's a few people that need to disappear in some ways. There's a group.
They're just fishers. We refer to them as fishers.
There's a fishing group made up of captains and admirals and blah, blah, blah. And they thought it was going to affect the ability for them to fish.
Despite the fact we've done a lot of surveys,
Yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
fish pass.
Yeah, and it's all been shown to not, but they said no, and unfortunately they had ultimate power. So yeah, they're very supported by the local people as well. And I say I think the fish are important as well, but lots of studies to show that you can still, it would have no effect on those fish. So yeah, unfortunately it's been through. But that was a number of years ago, and I did have a think at the strategy day that you never know, that group may have changed. So yeah, it might be something we need to have to think about to at least raise that question again, because yeah, it's a massive resource. And hydro is really difficult, and that's pretty much no brainer. So but thanks for raising it. And if you do come back in 4 years, could you raise it again? Because we really,
Sorry, I was late. I think they're on Stephen Scown by mistake.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, it was on the emails. I just forgot.
Yeah.
But so it is viable from an engineering point of view.
Yes. Are you able to?
I'm not sure what's happening.
There we go. Great. Any other questions? Yeah.
Actually, just on that, it's worth noting that True's Weir is in dire state, and
In terms of maintenance and.
well, it was ever since the collapse of the weir below that. It's
Yeah.
undermined the base True's Weir.
Yeah.
And it's a considerable concern to the city council. Whereas True's Weir, unlike St James, is essential to keep up because it holds up the water now.
Wow.
And so they're liable to have to do hugely expensive work on it at some stage.
Oh,
and
wow.
that might be the stage which to tack on the project.
Yeah. Well, great. Do keep us, if everybody hears anything about that, then do make sure. But yeah, I suppose with the Exeter City Council, the Environment Agency at the moment. So, well, National Rivers Authorities. Yeah, some authorities anyway.
And I did have another point, please, which is in preparation for this meeting, I just sort of looked at the email that came about it and then at the website. And I was a little surprised to find that there hasn't been a published, as you might say, coming out in an accessible form, annual report for several years.
Yeah.
Not since 21. And they were every year.
Yeah.
And there should be really for members an annual report.
Yeah. No, apologies. That's definitely how they say my bag. So yeah, it should have happened last year. We wanted to try and simplify things a little bit. Putting together the annual report was quite a bit of work for directors, and I do want to try and get that right balance. So we wanted to make it a bit simpler, but what we were thinking is we could just basically use the presentation and add a bit more to it. But we never got around to doing a bit more to it and getting it out. But David will sort that out this year. Yeah. So but yeah, sorry, apologies for that. But,
And to be fair, Tara did have it last year as well.
all right. Yeah. Great. Any other questions? Great. Okay. Well, there's some food at the back. Oh, and this is my last AGM today. I'm stepping down, so I just want to thank personally all the volunteers and all of you lot for supporting it, and also the directors. They do a fantastic job and have made lots of well, give a lot of time to. I said no.
So talking of thank yous, only right that we thank Alistair who's stepping down from chairman of the. Oh, he's stepping down from Exeter Community Energy.
I am, yeah.
So we will definitely miss you. Thank you for all of your help and support over the years. So
thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. You know, we're doing good stuff. You know, together we really are. So We'll carry on doing it.
Yeah, wish you all the best with your next
Great.
challenges.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alistair.
Cheers, thank you. Great, so we got some food at the back. Unfortunately, we've only got water, but anyway, it's quite exciting. And see you again. Very fun. Thanks, David.